Hello and welcome to Where's the Any Key, a podcast for all things geeky in nature. I'm joined once more with my good friend and brother from another mother, Adam. How are you doing, Adam?
I love that, man. Brother from another mother. It's a great one. Yeah, good, man. It's been a while since we've had an episode together. It's been a pretty busy time for the both of us, but naturally, as during the time of us catching up last time, have been playing games, and that's kind of what spurred me on. Now that I've sort of starting to settle into where I've moved into the new place, and some things in life have settled down a little bit. I'm happy to. Well, it's been going to be good to chat to you about what I've been playing, and then of course what you've been playing, because we've had a few casual comments to each other, and pretty eager to get into this one.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, well, it's awesome to hear, and you are right. Things have been absolutely hectic when it comes to work and, well, just all around life, really. So, to our dear listeners, we apologize that these haven't come out as often as we'd like. Believe me, we'd love to catch up much more often, but life just gets in the way. Um, yeah, well, before we actually jump in, there's something I wanted you to check out. And again, this is just going to be another quick informal chat between us. One thing I wanted you to check out is something that I've just seen maybe about an hour ago,
Oh, fresh.
called Maple Forest. Maple Forest.
Maple Forest.
Now,
What is this?
it's a game, but it's a game inspired by old school Super Nintendo and Game Boy Color and Game Boy Zelda.
Oh, I'm just so it's a Kickstarter, yeah, or is it
It's a
coming out?
Kickstarter at the moment. I'm
Okay,
hoping for it to be on Steam, but it's a Kickstarter at the moment. So
I'm looking at the trailer at the moment. So they've funded. Wow, so they had a 55,242 Australian dollars goal. They're up to $239,149 with 2,785 backers. That is awesome.
yeah,
And just looking at it, so there's not going to be no visuals in this episode, but just to explain to people, it has got that what would you call it, 16-bit sort of
yeah, it's
look of it.
16-bit.
Yeah,
Think Game
top
Boy
down.
Color. Yeah,
Yep. Very
yeah,
very much Zelda. Like it has that probably closest to Link's Awakening, I'd say. Look about it.
absolutely.
And I mean it's early on in this. So where did you see this?
I actually saw this on one of my feeds on YouTube feeds. With I can't remember the guy. It was just one of the many videos that I get. Like, the one guy I generally follow is uh best indie games.
Yep.
Just because he puts out a lot of indie games that are coming out, that have come out, that he's not necessarily reviewed, but he sort of just does like a newsletter, a video newsletter, if you will, where he just tells you about all the games that are coming out. It's something that he might be interested in. And again, it just I sort of sit there with it on the TV and my phone in hand with the Steam app open, and anything I like, I just immediately type in and go ahead and sort of wishlist it. But this one came on, and I saw it. I think it was like a YouTube short. It was like 5 best indie games, but it was talking about that.
Well,
And
the
it was,
algorithm's working well for you then.
yeah. I mean, I like to throw it off occasionally and put things in like how to fly a plane, or
Yeah,
what
I mean,
what
I've had lately a lot of baby emus in my feed because I looked up one video and I'm like, oh, well, I'll keep watching them. They're pretty cute.
that's the thing, right? You watch one thing and you like occasionally I'll watch a uh, again, not to get political, but those
Here
sort
we
of
go.
things about.
I go for it.
No, let me tell you about Trump and everything.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh,
Oh,
I've just broken
goodness
the
me, no
algorithm for the
kidding.
people looking this up.
Kidding, absolutely kidding. But you watch one of those things, like the either extreme right or extreme left idealists on YouTube, and for the next week or month, your whole feed is just filled with all these ones
Huh.
that are just over the top. I mean, you might watch something that might be, a little right or left from center, and you
Mm.
might think, okay, this guy's making somewhat sense, or this person's making sense. It's not a bad, I guess, clip.
Interesting to
Yeah, it's
look at.
interesting.
Yeah.
and then it just
You've got
yeah.
heaps in the feed, yeah. So it's funny because there was a while, I don't think we've talked about it on here, and this will be the last little comment I'll say about it because I'd rather keep it focused on games. But I went on a bit of a down the path of looking at that sort of stuff in probably 2018, 19, when like around the Me Too movements and all that sort of stuff, and focused on these really hyper left, hyper right sort of people and watching different videos. And I did have that a lot, but I think I started to watch other stuff, but then also do like I don't like this or don't recommend channel in my feed, and I reckon that's helped it a lot because these days I don't, even if I do occasionally slip up and watch a video, like it has obviously been about the election lately. Luckily it doesn't really give me a lot of that stuff now. It's actually lately I've been getting a lot of like classic stuff that I used to watch, and I like bloopers. So I was actually, before jumping on this call, I was watching like a ultimate news bloopers video. I was having a good chuckle before joining this call, so I've been appreciative of that. But yeah, it's easy to fall in that trap once you start watching one. It just gets shoving it into your face. But back on the Maple Forest. So here's a little snippet I'll read out for people listening if they're interested in checking it out. Maple Forest is an action RPG inspired by 90s classics, including Zelda, Secret of Mana, love Secret of Mana as well, the Soul Blazer trilogy, and more. In it, you'll adventure across an island that's begun to shrink for mysterious reasons. The village elder tells you that Maple Island's guardian at the top of the island's tallest mountain may be able to help, but the door to the garden's shrine has been locked for longer than anyone can remember. Nobody has been brave or adventurous enough to unlock that door until now. So, yeah, looking at the trailer, I was watching it through, there's a heck of a lot of Zelda DNA there, even from, it's like a big fish thing that rocks up. It looks like Jabu Jabu from King Jabu, Lord Jabu from, actually, he appears in Echoes of Wisdom, which is one game I want to talk about today as well. But, I'm feeling the vibes. Like, it's great that it's got this this pledge. It's, I guess my next question is when are they planning on, here we go, shipping? So much varied for country. Yeah, I'll look at that. Do you want to continue talking for a bit? I'll see if I can find something on it.
Yeah, no, please do. So, I guess, just to get it out of the way, and again, not to get political or anything once more, the Dragon Age Veilguard, Dragon Age Veilguard. Yep.
I released that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that there's currently a lot of controversy, both from, I guess, and I use this with quotation marks, video game, I guess, coverage media is sort of the best way I can describe it. Like GameStop, IGN, all that sort of stuff, as well as sort of a lot of leaking of private information that, again, I disagree with. It's very interesting. It's very interesting what's been going on with that. Again, look, you know what? In a way, I appreciate that the leaks have come out because they tell the true story, the real story, which you would have presumed these video game coverage websites or what's the word? Journalists would do their due diligence and tell the truth, tell it unbiasedly. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of misinformation about how good the game is, and now a lot of these sites are going back on their word, and now that they're seeing that the backlash, and that's really sad. I mean, because
are we surprised though? Like this has been proven before with people like IGN have been known to be paid off for reviews. It happens. Like, I think I noticed that years ago, even in the magazines I used to read, there'd be some ridiculous reviews, and you just quickly realize that in the industry that some of these outlets get paid off for the good reviews.
It's really sad, and no, not absolutely surprised, to be honest. Because you'd want that information to be, unbiased. To be honest, that from what I've seen, it looks beautiful. I saw some people complaining about it being too Pixar-y or whatever. You know what? It looks beautiful. It looks very
good.
polished.
Yeah.
But I also understand the current sentiment, especially from gamers, well, I guess from all of us, nerds, geeks, anyone who consumes these sort of media, you get preached at in TV shows. You get preached at in movies. You get preached at work. You get preached at on the street. You get preached at in social media. And now the last bastion, especially to us nerds who are very much, of the we don't want to disturb anybody, or we don't want to disturb the status quo. Just leave us alone and let us play our video games in peace. For them to cross into that line and then start preaching at us, which I think is one of the big valid complaints of what Dragon Age Veilguard is doing, is a lot of people are saying there's this, and I don't want to use the term woke, but I guess for lack of a better term, woke self-inserting tirade on how we should be treating people of the LGBTQI plus community, and it's ridiculous. I mean, nobody plays video games to be preached at.
Yeah, so sorry, I need context. I don't know what.
Okay,
All I've heard that the game was given really good reviews, and then when it came out, a lot of people going, oh, actually, it's not quite, this and that, and a lot of fans of BioWare and Dragon Age really disappointed with it because it had poor writing. It wasn't the sprawling RPG. It's turned into more of an action RPG, and people like Skill Up, like I still again recommend his channel because he's very honest with his review, and I listened to that. I was like, oh wow, I'm considering picking up Dragon Age because it kind of sounds like it's something I'd be interested in. I'm not really interested in RPG. I'm more into I do like those games, but it sounds like it's a lot of fun. And apparently the combat's like God of War, so I'm like, hell yeah, I'm in. But I've
definitely got the games.
I don't think I know what you're talking about. So if you give me some context there.
Absolutely, my brother. So yeah, apparently the controversy has come from the media sites, or rather BioWare giving the games out to people who they knew were going to give them raving reviews, like an IGN gave them a 9, out of 10, a lot of fantastic reviews saying that it's everything people have been waiting for in the Dragon Age series, and it's a wonderful note to like sort of leave the series off after 10 years. The issue being is, the gameplay is considered to be quite static and repetitive and boring. The puzzles are ridiculously simple.
Terrible. Yeah.
There is no real conflict. Every character is so unoffensive or controversial. Very bland, middle of the road.
Yeah, okay.
And on top of that, I think what really exacerbated it is they do have a trans character who is from a particular race, who apparently they have a word that neither refers to he or her. It's their own word in that race, and that was pre-established. But that's not good enough for her. She's a they, them. And on top of that, there is this whole scene. It's this whole scene where this one character is telling a story. It's pretty infamous at this point, and she gets the other character, the they them identifying character, pronouns incorrect, and so she decides to pull what they call a barv, or what she calls a barv, which is essentially 10 push-ups, and everyone is losing their minds over this because it goes on to become this huge lecture on how apologizing is not good enough, that you have to do something physical to make up for your reprimands. Because saying if you say sorry too lightly, it's not sorry enough, and if you say sorry too severely, it's all about you.
So it feels like a self-insert in the modern zeitgeist at the moment with the way things are in media.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think the fans and a lot of people, they're just sick of it. It's a matter of like, we're here to game. I don't need this, and it's not a thing about hating the community or hating the person behind the different identifiers. It's hating on the fact that we don't want this in the game, and I agree with that. I don't want to be lectured when I play a game. I don't want to watch a TV show where I'm lectured. I don't want to watch a movie where I'm lectured, because there's enough of that in the world already. Like, I'm so done with that negativity. So apparently there's a huge controversy. They've leaked numbers as well. Apparently there were numbers of them saying they had sold 1 million or something copies, 100 million copies, when the numbers are much less. Nobody's playing this game. They're getting refunds. So BioWare's doing an internal investigation. There's all
Oh,
these
okay.
dramas. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had no idea.
Which again, I'm against that in a way. I'm very against it because it should never be done, especially to any company. That's really not fair, regardless of how huge BioWare is or if they were an indie company. But at the same time, there's the other side of me that says, well, you know what? Had these game journalists, websites or these actual game journalists done their job and been brutally honest, or unbiasedly honest, rather, then this would have never happened. There wouldn't have been a reason to leak anything. It would have been, well, no, this is a bad game. Don't buy it.
So
And
I will defend the developer just for a second. It's probably not
please,
BioWare that have done that. It's probably EA. EA, the publisher. So EA are notoriously absolute dicks when it comes to the industry. Like they put in stupid microtransactions. Like if you remember Star Wars Battlefront 2, ridiculous over the top things there. They've got a lot of suits running that business, and they've put out a lot of great games in the past, but they've definitely got that late stage capitalism about them. And I'd be a betting man that BioWare had nothing to do with that part of it. It's just going to be all EA games. Could be wrong, but that's typically what happens. Is the publisher organizes that, and they probably have flashed that cash to a lot of people to give it that kind of a review.
yeah, no, yeah, well, because apparently the
And
game was like 300 million to. Again, I could be 100% wrong here with them, but it was like a lot. There were like a lot of money for this game. It's like 10 years in the making. It's like a huge investment. And also, I mean, and you're right. But this is what I mean by that. I mean, jumping off of your point, game journalists should be unbiased and be very honest with the fandom, because a lot of people do get their news from a lot of these sites still, and just say, you know what, these guys are making us pay, or these companies are making us pay with, for microtransactions when other games are doing it for free, and
yeah,
let the consumers vote with their wallet. Because I mean, us as consumers, we have a responsibility, like, to not buy something we don't like, not buy into it, no matter how good the franchise is, no matter how much you enjoy the story or the franchise, and you want to, see more of it. You send these companies a message, and that the best way to do it is by not buying their product and not, allowing them to dictate how things are going to be by not participating. Going, you know what? No, if enough people do it, they'll be the ones feeling the pain. And they'll be like, no, we have to retract. We have to go back. We can't do that. The fans have shown us this.
yeah.
So, yeah.
The downside there is that a lot of people like you and I are pretty, nerds. We're clicked in on this, geeks. So we look at this sort of stuff, but a vast majority of people ignore any of that. They just buy the game that they think looks good. And when you talked about sales and whatnot, so I don't know, I can't see numbers, but Dragon Age: The Veilguard's currently sitting on 33 on the Steam charts, and it's got mostly positive out of 23,174 user reviews. So it's doing pretty well, I think, despite of that. So there's a couple of things there. Points I just want to
Please.
rebuttal on is the first one is that it's not, people aren't wanting to play it. It looks like it's selling all right. I don't know if it's doing well comparatively, if it's hitting targets. Like you said, it could be one of those situations with movies. How the modern movies, like the Marvel superhero stuff, is costing them like 300 million plus to make, and they're only making like 150 million. It could be a similar situation here. They spend millions of this, and it's not making back what it needs to even break even, which is very much could be the case. But it does seem to be reasonably liked by the audiences out there. And then the other one was on the reviews. So I think that in terms of reviews, like I actually generally don't watch reviews these days. Like I'm not sitting there and my games media that I consume is not listening to reviews or watching reviews. I listen to discussions. So it's podcasts. So yeah, I listen to like Kind of Funny, Giant Bomb, Min Max. And they're the sort of three that I go around. There might be occasional other podcasts here or there to listen to. I prefer listening about discussions around it because you get a lot more detail and different opinions within that. Like a lot of these reviews are just one person. They're very sanitized to the point that they're just getting a really high level touch point on it. And I really love listening to discussions about it to really get a rounded sense of what this game's going to be. Sure, I still watch and listen to reviews when it's like I'm really trying to make my decision or trying to get that quick understanding of what's going on. But if I really want to learn about a game, I'm jumping into those topics where they have those deeper discussions. And I think that people, clued into the gaming industry will probably look at stuff like IGN and might have their moment where they go, "Oh God, they're just doing this for money." Oh well. And then hopefully that's why I think Skill Up's channel's been growing. Like he's only had that channel for not long, like it's 5-ish years, but he's got over 1 million views, and he's getting very divisive comments on his YouTube videos because he is so on me. I'm unapologetic. This is what I feel about it. And I watched his review on Dragon Age, and it was very like, I really hate saying this, but this isn't a good game. And he listed out all these reasons why, and he says, I don't recommend you buy this. I was like, that's really interesting. I'm still interested because what he explained about the systems and whatnot actually got me interested. And then, stuff like the puzzles mentioned before, it's like, whatever, that's just a distraction. But the combat sounds interesting enough. I heard Kind of Funny talk about it, and they gave it a bit more of a positive review, and they talked about the combat in there, and it does reach a point where it gets boring, I think, but I think for just a bit of fun, it does sound interesting. I'm probably not going to buy it now. I'll wait till it goes on sale. But yeah, I think it's good that we've got things like YouTube that gives that diversity of opinion, and the people that
Absolutely.
are doing these, paid off sort of reviews, hopefully they start to see the numbers drop, and you get, people like Skill Up and others out there that are giving honest opinions get more of a boost just for having that honesty.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you said, I mean, one of the guys I follow is ACG. I think it's Angry Centaur Gaming. He tends to be. He's a one guy, but who or I think he has a team. But he evaluates the game on what's it called? On like very different not genres. What is the word I'm looking for? I guess facets, if you will. Yeah. So he does graphics, sound, gameplay, story, like all those, and then he like does an accumulative score at the end.
Yep.
And likewise, he's very unapologetic about the way he feels about it. He doesn't. He's always very, if he says one good thing about it, at least he'll say one bad thing about it. And if he says like one bad thing about it, at least he will point out some of the positives. He'll be like, at least, oh look, the sound is good at least. But then at the end he'll be like, is this worth you buying? And he has like, I think a rating system. It's like, buy it now, wait for a sale, don't bother, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, yeah. And if the game is mediocre or some middle of the road, he'll be like, at least wait for a sale and buy it. So he is very honest like that. And, like you said, it's, in a way, I'm very happy that, I guess the audience is waking up to a lot of this.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that, it's fantastic. They're getting sick of being lectured to and having all this, I guess, shoved down their throats for no reason, when a lot of us are really, don't care. If you're a nice person, come on, friend, let's play a game. Otherwise, like anybody else, don't want to know you. And so I'm glad that that's coming to light, that I think everyone's getting sick and tired of that narrative. Also, that we're asking and demanding more of a lot of things. So not only our politicians, not only our, what's it called? Big supermarkets who provide us with a whole bunch of stuff. For those of who are, not in Australia, essentially, two of our biggest supermarkets have been under scrutiny recently for gouging prices and everything else. So this is what I'm referring to. On top of that, with, YouTube stars, demanding more from them, with movie stars, music stars, with, I'm all for it, I'm all for it. Let's just hope that 2025 keeps that trend, that, we start holding a lot of people, a lot of companies, a lot of businesses accountable, and, demanding better and more from them, not just for their sake, but for our sake as well. Because I mean, that way we'll always have, better media to consume.
The good old Aussie saying, "Keep the bastards honest."
Yeah, I love it. Love that saying, and it's very true.
Uh,
Definitely let's keep them honest.
all
But
right.
yeah,
Well, should we? I mean, yeah. If we're done with that, should we chat about the games we've been playing?
absolutely. Please, please, I'll let you go ahead first.
All right, I'll go first because mine's be an interesting one to talk about because I think we've already talked about like Skull, for example, in this sense. Well, Skull is it that a Metroidvania? Actually, yeah, is it a Metroidvania or is it a roguelike or
No,
both?
it's a roguelite.
Okay,
Roguelite.
right. So, yeah, okay. So I was playing. I've been always curious in the Metroidvania genre. Like people, like even there's Jeff Grubb on Giant Bomb says basically if you release a game that's a Metroidvania, you're cheating. Because to me, you've almost got like Game of the Year or it's like can be one of the best games that I play because it just loves the genre so much and. I've never really given it a solid crack. I've never played a Metroid. I played Metroid Prime, Metroid Prime Remaster, but that's 3D. I'm talking about the 2D Metroidvanias. I've never played Castlevania. Never played a Metroid game. Played the demo for Dread, and that's really fun. Ended up picking it up in a sale. I'm yet to play it yet. I just haven't got around to it. But
Brilliant.
excuse me. But the one that everybody goes about in the industry in terms of an indie sake, and it's an Aussie developer, which I'm glad to support them, is Hollow Knight by Team Cherry. It's so revered, and it's so much so that it's become a meme. Like at any Summer Games Fest, E3, any sort of presentation, people have like the cloud face emoji in the chats about Silk Song because they're waiting for the the follow up to Hollow Knight coming out, and it's funny to watch all that. But yeah, so I was always curious, of course, jump in and give it a go. Now, I did try it probably 3 or 4 years ago on the Switch because I wanted to play some more handheld type of games, and people go on about how great Hollow Knight is for the Switch. So picked it up there and played it. Played probably an hour or two of it, and didn't really grab me. So I just put it down, whatever. And then I came back to it again recently. So it's probably been about 2-3 months since I've played it now. I got much further this time. I got probably about 7-ish hours into the game, maybe a bit more. But I ended up putting it down. I ended up putting it down in frustration from a number of things. But I mean, I like it for a lot of things, and I can see why it clicks for people. The best way I can describe it is it is kind of that Dark Souls in 2D situation. You've got your rest spots, so you've got you don't grab health back. You can't grab health back unless you got maybe one of those. You get like badges that you can attach to your character that gives certain buffs or debuffs or regain health over time situation. But typically you are going to these benches to rest. And then, of course, whenever you kill the bugs, which are the enemies, so you're a bug and there's other bugs, you collect these little gems, and they're basically like the souls, essentially, that you can use to spend on upgrades and what have you. And yeah, that's all well and good. It's the world itself. It's really frustrating because I love the concept. So you're in a bug kingdom, and you're basically exploring a forgotten, buried kingdom underground, and you're trying to. The story isn't. This is one of my problems with it. It's not like, I'll talk about Echoes of Wisdom in this, and I'll talk about this quite often with game design, and the games that I really find click with me are those Zelda games where they sort of do give you a target to go for, and then they'll give you sort of hints of where you're going, and it is pretty obvious, but it's not like too annoying. It's keeps the game flowing along. Hollow Knight's the opposite, and it's kind of like your Dark Souls and Elden Ring and whatnot. It is very much like they drop you in and you're like, okay, and then you start talking to people and like, oh yeah, here's this kingdom. You're like, right, okay, so we'll go down and explore the kingdom. And the story unfolds through the environment and then through some of the characters you meet, but there's no explicit go here and do this thing until a little bit further into the game. But it's a lot of like, you need to explore. Now, like a Dark Souls game, when you go between, like it's kind of like the old school 2D games, you'll get to like the camera will scroll with you to a certain point, and then you'll get to the end of the screen, and then it moves into the next screen. And so you might do one area, clear it out, go away, then come back, and then the enemies have returned again. That's even if you haven't gone and re-healed, that's popped back up again, which is all right. It's good for grinding and whatnot, but it can also be frustrating because it is like a part precision platformer in with that Dark Souls style. So you've got some tough enemies, and then you've got to be good at precision platforming. Like you've got this thing called, it's pretty cool, like you do the nail jump, which is you basically jump down and your nail is your weapon, which is a little sword basically. And you can jump and then you swipe underneath yourself and it hits an enemy and it bounces you. And there's like certain areas you can only get to by doing that. as a result of doing that and going back and forth, where you're trying to explore, trying to figure out where you're going, and trying to unlock these abilities and whatnot, you're doing that over and over and over and over again, and it just was really grating on me. I kept trying to push and continue, but I just got to a point where I was come up against one of those situations like I did with the first Dark Souls. I come up against you got this boss or this boss, and they both kick your ass. And I did them both, probably 20 times each until I just went, I'm done. I just can't do this anymore. So there's a lot to love about it. I don't want to leave it on a negative because the art design's beautiful. They've got some interesting-ish areas. The whole environments weren't grabbing me, so I wasn't really interested in exploring it too much, mainly potentially because of the gameplay was detracted from it, like having to go through these same areas with these enemies, try and avoid them. If you get hit, you might be stunted for the next area that you haven't been to that you got to fight enemies on. You're like, oh God, I got to get through them so I can then heal and save that area. But for people that love that stuff, I can see why people love it. It's but to summarize and end up for me, I'm going to continue looking for a decent Metroidvania, and it's potentially going to be Metroid Dread I'll try next, or Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I've heard that's really good too. So.
Yeah, the latest one. I've heard good things about it. Okay, so wow, so a lot of that. I mean, I guess I remember when my brother first got his PS3, and one of the first games he had gotten was Demon Souls.
Yep.
So kind of like the precursor to Dark Souls. I remember him watching him playing it and everything. And again, I was away from video games at this point. I think I might have been going through depression, undiagnosed depression at that point, due to, again, all I ever did was eat, sleep, and go to work. Yep. Like I wouldn't even bother doing anything fun. It was just eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, work. Anyway, I noticed him playing it, and it was one of the few things where again, I've always loved video games. I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is very odd. And he said to me, hey man, why don't you play? Because again, he was one of the few ones of my siblings who had remembered when we were kids how, again, not saying this as a brag, but how good I was at video games in his own words. And he'd be like, you were really brilliant at video games, so why don't you give this a shot? And I've been watching him and he was really good at it. And so I jumped into this like a Western sort of RPG where you run in and you just start killing everything because you're slightly stronger than most enemies, and of course there is some tactic, and you can't. But no, it's completely different. This is very what I would call, and I guess people from our generation and older, before Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Souls-like were a thing. The equivalent would be arcade, the coin swallower ones, quarter swallowers, where you didn't call them Souls-like, they were just hard games where
difficult.
Yeah. Yep. And so it was very much like that for me, my first experience, because I went in with a wizard and I'm thinking, I never play a wizard, I always play a strong character. I'll do a wizard, see, give myself a bit of a challenge. And it's a very different tactic. But the one thing that I did notice was what you said. There was this overarching story, which was fantastic. So engaging, so, majestic, so fantastical.
Keep you going.
Yeah. I was like, oh, wow, this is brilliant. I want to find out more about this. But nothing unfolded.
Yeah.
You were told to go to a certain spot, and there were these long, explanations for everything. And if you didn't talk to every character, you could miss out on dialogues that would fill the world out more.
Yep.
And you know what? That's fine now that we've sort of seen it, and we've come to grow to understand it and how to engage with it, due to a lot of other players figuring it out. And there is a new, I guess, genre that's evolved into a lot of 2D stuff. There is Souls-like but 2D games, like Blasphemous.
Blasphemous. Got me tongue-tied.
Blasphemous, yes. Yeah, and a few other ones, which again are beautiful and fantastical. But like you said, and this is the thing that I've experienced with my own Metroidvania, which was Axiom. It's interesting.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's a very interesting game. I'm not sure if it's the palette. I'm not sure if it's the backtracking. I am not sure what it is. There's just perhaps I haven't had enough experience. Maybe I need to go back and play the first Metroidvania to actually understand it. Sort of you crawl before you can run, sort of thing. Um, because it is tedious and it's boring.
Mm.
There's no
Anything repetitive or
yeah, ridiculously repetitive and just tedious in that regard. Like the same with Dark Souls. Like I can always I've tried to play Dark Souls so many times to get through it. Um,
right?
but
I didn't know that. Okay.
you're right. I reach a certain point. It's not because the boss is difficult. It's just there's this grinding aspect to it
Yeah.
that at first you're like, okay, I'm gonna get strong, and then it's just like this is boring. This is
Yeah.
genuinely boring.
And
Like
hence
you know
why I've
what?
said to you, I really recommend Elden Ring because that was like my well, that is now one of my like top 3 games of all time. That blew me away. Like that gave you that sense of exploration as a whole world of discovery, and it's no longer just go here, grind. It's like, okay, they're too tough. I'm going to go over here, and this while you're exploring and having fun exploring and learning things, you come back and you're ready to fight that dude, and you get through him, no worries. So,
Yeah, and the thing is that I mean, it got to the point to me that where it was just like I'm not having fun. Now with the grindy stuff, I'd played Pokemon Gold and Yellow and Red and all
oh
that stuff.
yeah,
But the thing with Pokemon, and I kind of think that this is really good, is there will be a point where where you're in a particular area, right, before you have to go to the next area. You can go there, sure, and you might get, you might be just strong enough or just slightly the underdog and, use a couple of potions or whatever, and you make it through, you scrape through by, the skin of your teeth. Or you could do what most people do and grind till, they're stronger and then go do it.
yep.
I was very much sort of the grinder.
Mhm.
But the thing was, you could only grind up to a certain level. You know what I mean? So, like, for example, before you hit the next gym leader, you have access only to sort of all the previous areas and
That's
that new area.
yeah,
That
because they were locked down by gym badges. Once you got a badge, you could then get the
yeah,
certain Pokemon behaving, listening to you. They wouldn't respond to you if
yeah,
you're in battle. Yeah,
yeah,
that was a good
yeah,
way of doing it.
not only that, but it's also there might be like some sort of thing blocking your next path over.
Mm.
So all the
Oh yeah,
Pokemon,
yep,
yeah, so all the Pokemon up to that point are like level 10, and your
yep.
Pokemon might be like level 11 or level 9, and so you
Mm.
grind a bit more, to. But again, it gets to the point where you might go up like another 3 4 levels, and you might be at like level 15, and the boss might only be a level 13, his
Mm.
strongest Pokemon. But the point is, like, after you get to level 15, yeah, you could continue grinding, but at that point, it's almost futile because it's like, I need to beat every, like, encounter, like, 10 times over. Like, I can go back to the start of my house and then run in every encounter all the way up to here, and I'll probably barely make it half a level. So it's like, it forces you to go do the gym to get to even stronger Pokemon to
Mm.
continue grinding. See, that to me is acceptable because you get to the point where it's like, all right, beating these guys doesn't give me anything. And, I can beat the boss because I'm now either stronger than him or their Pokemon. But with the whole Souls-like games, there isn't that. It's like, no matter how strong you get, the boss will always still be stronger. You might get,
Yeah,
might be slightly easier, but, and,
yeah, and
you
that's I
can.
guess the appeal of it for some people. Like it's just not for me. As simple as
No,
that.
neither for me.
I've
It's
had
too tedious.
someone recommended me the other day Lords of the Fallen. I'm like, ah, probably not. It looks cool, but it's another Souls copy. I'm like,
Yeah.
just looks like it's too hard, and I just unless it's open world. If you tell me again it's an open world, it's like Elden Ring. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely checking it out because the fun in that was the exploration part of it, finding secrets like you do in these Zelda games and whatnot,
Hmm.
and it was that analogy used with Pokemon. I felt like it's the same thing. You basically the level block for you are those tough enemies. So you instead of trying to take them, well, you can take them head on if you're a Souls player. Like a lot of people like to do it without summons in the game. So you get
Hmm.
ashes that you can summon, and I use them all the time because I get my ass handed to me. But makes the game fun for me, so I do it. But some people don't like to do that, and yeah, they've deliberately put certain areas that are really tough. So you can at the start of the game basically skip the first major boss and get into the next area, but you're likely going to get stomped by some of the enemies in there because it's that first skill check is that first boss.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
what you do is explore that area, fight some of those little mini bosses, the field bosses, and then get into that legacy dungeon, and then that's your real test. And then you're ready to go out and explore the rest of the map. And they balance that really well. And I think that's what they nailed about like what we're talking about, what we prefer.
Yeah, no, and yeah, you're right. Look, slightly moving on with that. I mean, I guess partly to also answer a question with regards to this roguelites. For me, I had no interest in them. I genuinely didn't have any interest in them, just because to me it was very much. I'm like, why do I want like procedurally generated, repetitive, combat? But after playing Skull, the Hero Slayer, it clicked with me. It's very quick, jump in, do a run, and whatever. The finesse comes in the items and abilities that you gain per each run, and the, I guess, the RNG behind it. Getting the right item and sort of building the character. But again, slightly moving on with what games have I been playing. So I've been trying my hand at a few, I guess, older games. One of the ones that again I've sort of been playing has been let's have a look. See, Dungeons: The Dark Lord. Oh, sorry, not Dungeons. And there was another one. I tried to play Divinity on here, but yeah, due to it being a huge TV, and due to it, I guess only being optimized to a certain extent, I can't really, see from here. It's just too small. Like a lot of the stuff is just way too small. There, there's also
Divinity,
been
the one that's developed by the dudes did the Larian Studios, Divinity Original Sin, yeah.
Yeah, Divinity. Oh, sorry, Divine Divinity, which is I think from the same. Yeah, they'd be from the same. Here we go. Where are we? Divine Divinity.
Divine Divinity.
Yep.
Game.
Yeah, Larian Studios. Larian Studios.
Oh, it is Larian. Okay, that's
yeah.
Whoa.
Yes,
okay.
so,
I didn't even know about this one. This looks cool.
I think it's like their first one. It is.
Wow.
It's really, really cool. I think it's like their first entry in the game. And Dungeons, which essentially is like how should you play as like the Overlord, and you it's kind of like a strategy RPG. You're the villain. You kind of have to build out the dungeon like as heroes get in, sort of thing. I've been playing that. They've both been okay, I guess. Really, neither hero there with it. Again, it's just been a bit hard due to my current setup here. I've realized that I probably need a better setup, something a little bit more private for it. The other thing as well that a friend of mine got me into is Vampire Survivor.
Oh yes, I've been playing that. Man, how good is that?
That is interesting. It's very fun. It's very fun. Yeah,
it's simple, but it's so addictive.
It is addictive, and this is sort of what I mean. It's the gameplay loop that really is what keeps you coming back. Because there will be times where I'm just sitting on the couch, wife and son, they're either watching or doing something or playing something, and I'm like, oh, wife will be reading, son will be watching something on TV, and I'm like, oh, you know what, I'll take out the Legion Go, and I'll spin up a game of either Vampire Survivor or the Skull.
Yeah, because you don't really have to. You just switch off the brain, have a good bit of fun. You don't really need to think too much. And oh man, that reminds me, I need to probably install that again. I don't think I've got it on Steam. Got it on my phone. I bought it like 3 times, I think. Wait, what else did oh man, that's one of those games. It's funny because like I remember seeing, I think it got Giant Bomb's Game of the Year when it released, which was 22. Yeah, I think it 22. I got Game of the Year, and I looked it up. I'm like, what is this thing everyone keeps talking about? Because I only listened to the podcast, so I didn't actually see any footage. Then I saw footage. I'm like, this is the game they got on about. I'm like, okay. And I think
my thoughts exactly.
Yeah. Then I picked it up on Game Pass. It was, of course, good old Game Pass to try it out. I'm like, after about 3 runs, I'm like, okay, I get it. This is great. That is genius video game design. It's something so simple, so simple. Once you play this, like if no one out there listening and know what I'm talking about, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a 2D top-down action roguelike. It says here on their Steam page, so it is a roguelike. I like. There you go.
Yeah.
Didn't realize. But you
Auto
fight
shooter.
auto shooter. So you've only got one button. All you're doing is moving around with your stick. You're just moving. That's it. But you've got it auto firing. You've got auto projectiles around you, depending on different upgrades you get through your runs and whatnot. That is it. You might have some little variations in the map, some things you can go collect on the map and whatnot, but it's very basic. But there's something about that in the brain that hits the dopamine, and it's so addictive. It's so much fun. It's almost like what's the other? Kind of like if you're playing a Tetris in a way. Tetris has got a
Candy
little bit
Crush.
more thinking. Yeah, Candy Crush is probably a bit better. Yeah, Candy Crush.
Yeah.
It's just one of those arcade style of games that just clicks. And oh god, yeah, it's cool to hear that you've been getting into it.
Yeah, it was actually my loctician, so the people who do my dreadlocks. He was like, "Hey," he took me into his little geek den, and he's like, "Have you seen this game? Check it out." And
Yeah.
I played a couple of rounds, and I'm like, "This is amazing, my dude." And yeah, so yeah, absolutely, man. It's one of those things. Yeah, you're right. It just hits the correct dopamine receptors, man, and it just makes it go off. Again, a game doesn't need to be all flashy to be fun. It can be a simple gameplay loop as long as there's like love behind it. That I mean, and as gamers, we'll be able to tell. You can tell. So yeah, I've been playing that. I've been playing Ark Survival, the Ark Survival Evolved. I think no, not the new one, because yeah, the old one, because I think the new one, like I had to pay for it again, and I was like, I'm not paying for that. Played that for a little bit. It's just No Man's Sky with dinosaurs, really.
Yeah.
Just kind of, yeah. Which isn't too bad. You know, I'm kind of having fun. You'd learn a few tricks here and there, and yeah. But again, it's one of those ones where you sort of pick up. I'll play maybe. Oh, I don't know. Maybe like a week or two worth of playing, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm kind of over this.
Over it, yeah. That's
Yeah,
what I like.
yeah.
So people probably we haven't talked about it on here, but Ivan and I had a go at No Man's Sky together for a little bit, and I picked it up and just tried playing it again with the new updates. But I fell into the same problem. I don't find those games engaging where you have to constantly be crafting and mining things as the point of the game. And it has promise, like it's incredible technology that you can take off and land and go after these planets and whatnot. But there's really not much going on. You really still everything goes around this core gameplay loop of mining and crafting stuff, and I just get bored too easy with it. So I've actually, after we played it last, man, like I actually, I did a couple of days ago, I actually uninstalled it. I'm like, I think I'm going back to this again. It's just not engaging enough for me to continue playing.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Here's another thing as well. How do you feel about current? Oh, actually, before I jump into that question, another one I've been playing is, and again I've been playing it on the Legion Go, is Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, I've got that on my wish list. Yeah, what's it like?
It's really clever. It's really fun. You play as Sherlock, and you kind of have to, like, you go around and you kind of notice a few things, like clues and everything. You kind of get guided to it because something will either be shimmering or be interactable. And what happens then is you kind of keep that in your mind, and then what you have to sort of do is you have to put it all together in your brain, like as like receptors, all the clues together to come up with a conclusion, and then you sort of and then you make the conclusion, and then you sort of work on that sort of thing. And again, it's again, I'm making it sound much more boring than what it really is. It's actually a lot more fun.
Yep,
a lot more fun. But that being said, it and I guess this is what leads me to the question is, how do you feel about current game design with regards to everything being just so overwhelming? Like, the one thing I noticed with and I say this because the one thing I noticed with regards to what's the word, No Man's Sky, was just how much you're bombarded with like a lot of things. Like, there is information on something that's just come up, something else that is important. Like there were all these messages being popped up and populated where I was just like, okay, this is a lot to take in. Like I just slightly saw that, and I just slightly saw that, but like what the hell, something about it just bombards you with so much information
Yeah,
that it becomes you know
exhausting.
exhausting, and
Yeah,
everything is just so far away from everything else.
yeah. I'm
Um,
with you. Like I think that what separates the good games from the great games, in my opinion. So this is a great segue into the next game I wanted to talk about, which is Batman Arkham Knight. So I
mhm,
picked that up. I played that exclusively on Steam Deck because it runs really well on it. And I it also ties into that Sherlock Holmes because it got similar things with like you do detective vision and you zoom on obvious points to unlock stuff. But y- y- the like I'm actually now playing Arkham City, so I finished Arkham Knight. I'm going back through Arkham City because I put that down yonks ago. I never finished it, so I wanted to go back, and I'm seeing the design choices is a bit different. So Arkham City's kind of in that same vein of a lot of information at you or not giving you enough information to draw you into something, and you're left there sitting there confused about where to go next or what to do. And that's frustrating. Whereas Arkham Knight does a much better job at signposting. So signposting is a good old thing people say in video game design to draw the player's attention to where to go next. The games that do
mhm.
that the best, and it's why I'll keep coming back. And I won't keep saying that. I won't keep apologizing for it. Legend of Zelda, and Mario, they're like brilliant at that. The Nintendo games, they introduce you to systems and items and concepts gradually. You get, the opening of Breath of the Wild. The first thing you do is you can't exit the room without picking up the slate. So what do? All you can do is run around, move. You can't even jump on the walls at this stage, so you can't climb. They don't introduce you to that. They've introduced to a mechanic which is moving. For you and I, we know that in video games, it's someone brand new picking it up. This is great way to start. Oh, I can run around this room. Oh, isn't this fun? Get bored. How do I get out of this room? Oh, I can't go to this door. Nothing happens when I walk up to the door. Oh, there's a pedestal. I walk past it. A little thing flashed up. Oh, what was that? Walk back over it again. A to grab. Or I think it's A or something like that. Bang. You do that. Link interacts with it. Gets the little pop up saying what it is. Oh, okay. It's very basic. It's Sheikah Slate. Unusual technology. Keep it on you. Oh, okay. No worries. Put it down. The door opens. And
Absolutely.
then you get that drawing light Zelda, Link, you must find me. And then the next thing you get is you walk up to a chest, and then you'll see a chest. And you're like, oh, that's also got open. So that's reinforcing what you've just learned. So you then get the trousers. So great. Oh, I can wear something. And then it even tells you then open up your menu item to see what you're wearing. Oh, great. I'm wearing something. So I must be able to put on different clothing. That's cool. Then the next thing you learn is you run up to this cliff, small little cliff, before you can actually get out of the shrine. And if you walk up to it, Link automatically jumps on, and you're like, oh, I can climb, and you start climbing, and then you notice this little pop up next to it, this little menu that seems to be going down. Like, what's that? Oh, okay, whatever. I'll keep climbing, and then I'm off, and then it disappears. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's gone now. I'm like, that has something to do with me climbing. So just that little passage there, of course, it goes on, but that little passage there is brilliant game design. It factors in the gameplay elements, so the very basics of what you do in the game, which is the big thing for Zelda at that time was climbing. So a stamina bar. That's the first time they properly introduced that into Zelda.
Mhm.
And then your basics of the video game, playing a video game, and then they tie that into a story mechanic. So it's like you've woken up, you're going. This light's telling you somewhere to go. Like, what's the purpose of you getting out of that cave? Or you got something shining at you, so I need to go see it. That is excellent game design. There's no confusion there. It's just even if you do get lost, it's like maximum of 30 seconds until you figure out what you need to do. Whereas something like Arkham City had been playing, and I was in a room, I was fighting a boss, right? So typical Zelda game design, you go into a dungeon and you'll have a theme. Let's say it's a fire theme. Everything's got lava, you got fire obstacles to get through, fire enemies. Sort of like in the first room or two, you'll end up getting something that allows you to combat that, which will be like an ice rod or something. You use
Mhm.
that ice rod to stop maybe fiery vents for a moment so you can pass it. You might use it on an enemy to make them vulnerable to attacks, or you might put it into the lava to make these molten lava platforms to get you over to a next area. So you do that, brilliant, and then they do different spins on the puzzles throughout the dungeon, and then your last test is fighting the boss, which is using that ice rod to do something to affect the boss. You don't do anything else differently. You don't do an item that you got from another bit of the game. It's just that. That teaches you that. Really great game design. A lot of fun playing with that mechanic. Arkham City,
Absolutely.
one of the first bosses I come up to was this big dude who's covered in electricity, had these big balls on his hands, or chains with balls at the end of it. And he started attacking me. And what I learned in that little dungeon area was I had to use the back claw to pull me on a raft. And then I also learnt it might have been, it was the electric charger. So this thing you can shoot out to open up doors and whatnot. So I learnt those two. So immediately my first thing is like, oh, okay, I got to hit him with one of these two. Back claw, did nothing. Okay. Maybe I've used that something else in the fight. The electrical charge, it actually charges him back up, gives him more health. I'm like, oh, okay. And Penguin's released him. He's watching the top. Bats, you done it wrong, mate. And okay, great. At least they tell you, like, the game's good. It does sort of tell you, give you sort of hints, like with the characters and the way they speak to you. But I was running around. Okay, that was weird. Craigbot just had a conniption there, so I've just restarted the recording. But anyway, I'll continue where I was off. I remember what I was at. So yeah, basically, I tried attacking this dude. I tried hitting him. He got me electric shock, so of course I can't hit him. So I can't use the two things that I've learned in this area. And then I've got these like 3 generators that are actually powering up. So I'm thinking, well, obviously it's got to have something to do with that. So do I shoot my charge at that? No, it does nothing. And these generators are like in the ground, like connected to the ground. So if you try and go over them or attack them or interact with them when he's charging up, it zaps you and it hurts you. But I don't know. I was running around. I'm like, what do I do here? And then, of course, you do have other gadgets in your tool belt, but they don't teach you this particular one that I needed to use. You'll only know this if you've played the previous game, Arkham Asylum. So really poor design there straight away is because if you've got new players coming into the game for the first time, they haven't been introduced to this mechanic. So anyway, the game actually ended up putting up on text, use explosive gel to destroy the
absolutely
generators. Obviously, through their play testing, they've realized players got lost in this, and eventually they just put the how to do it there. So that there is a real failing in game design, and I've actually been quite frustrated with City. I'm now remembering why I rage quit this game, because it just had a lot of stupid things there where it just expects you to know it when it doesn't signpost like Zelda does really well. So yeah, that's
how long before that message came up?
That was like 3 minutes into the fight. I mean, that was me getting to the point, like, I'm going to the game. I don't know what you want me to do. What do I do? And then, so that's like, so to go back to your original point was, having too much on the screen, too much info. I think it's just poor game design. It's simply that they've it's not necessarily lazy on their part. It's not like, their fault.
No, you're all right.
Like, for something like No Man's Sky, those living games, they keep adding mechanics over time, and they're actually usually the core of their player base of people have been with them from the start. So new players that aren't really good at adapting into it. So if you join like Final Fantasy, what's it called, 14 or whatever it is, that online one, that's probably really hard to jump into. Excuse me. Right now, it's the same with like World of Warcrafts and that. Destiny. So I tried Destiny 2 like a couple of years ago. Terrible onboarding experience as a new player. There was so much going on. And same thing, pop-ups here, pop-ups here, pop-ups there. I couldn't play the games. I was sitting there reading a manual before I could do anything. So
yeah, that you're right. It really takes you out of the immersion. Again, I've got no problem with that. I mean, and look, as a kid, all of us as kids, I think we remember wanting the world to be bigger, the worlds that we played. But now they're getting to the point where they're just so big. It's a matter of like, okay, it's gonna take me, at least a good 5 minutes to get over there. Like real world, like 2-3 minutes or whatever, 5 minutes to get over there. And there's like nothing entertaining in between.
Yeah. Am I doing anything fun?
Yeah. I'm just traveling there. And that sort of breaks your immersion, that breaks the gameplay loop, right? And the same with fast travel. It's like, okay, I need to fast travel, but what's the point of that now? Because everything's so, so far away. It's like, okay, you might be there and you're like, oh crap, I need this one item that I had left back over there. Or you know what, you've just, particularly, there are certain gameplay loops that I hate where you might have to go there, you do like a side mission or a side quest for like, one little thing, and then for whatever reason that side quest has you traveling to the other side of the map. And sure, I can see why they do it, as in, trying to discover more of the area, see the world that we've created. but it's so irritating because you're like, you know what? I want to do everything that I need to do here before I move on. The same with certain side quests that I really hate. You know what? I want to know what is a side quest and what isn't a what's a story quest.
Mm.
Because you know what? Me personally, the way I like to play is if I get to a new area, like in any typical RPG or whatever, I want to do all the side quests in that area and not miss out on any and be like, okay, have I gotten everything? Have I completed everything in this area? Cool. Now I can continue on with the story. Whereas, if you do the story, it's like, you know,
Can't go
you do
back.
a
You're
story
locked
mission.
out or something.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
locked out of it. You've missed out this, you've missed out
Yeah.
that. Or like there's an event. And you're right, that there's just poor game design where they don't what's it called? Signpost
Time.
that yeah, the whole, wait till midnight. Or, you talk to a character that might give you a hint saying, oh, during the nighttime, I've heard people running about in this area. I wonder what's all
Yeah.
that's all about. And you go, oh, okay, that means I got to wait till nighttime because something else. There might be a different event. Like, again, you want to enjoy the game to its fullest and see everything it has to offer, but there are things that can be done in such better ways.
Is there any
Yeah.
particular examples you've got of the games that do that? I'm curious.
There is. So Fable 2. Fable 2 is a fantastic game. I love Fable 2, one of my favorite games of all time. And again, going back quite some time ago. It does have some of that sort of loop, is the only one that sort of comes to mind at the moment. Where it is somewhat of an open world, but if you did not go to a certain area before you did a certain story mission, that would be it. Like there's a bit in the story
Yeah. Yep.
where you actually leave everything behind.
Yep.
And you can't go back. Like you disappear for like 10 years basically.
Yeah.
And you can't go back, and it's like, what the so stuff like that, it's what irritates me.
That's
Look,
what's good about Arkham Knight. So a lot of modern open world games I find will leave a little bit for you to do that. So a game where you might, this is down to obviously a design choice, what you might like or dislike, but in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and every Zelda game, when you face the final boss, that is technically the end. Like as in credits roll, you're done. But in the Zelda games, they take you back to your last save before you fight the final boss. So it's kind of like giving you that sense of you can still go and do stuff in this world if you want, and then you can come back and do the boss again. But you don't really get anything special for that at the end of their games. Whereas Arkham Knight, which I found is really cool, is if you finish the main story quests, you unlock a particular ending, but you don't. The game actually tells you, it reloads you back to before that, and it goes to unlock the true ending, complete all of the side quests, and it lets you go off to explore the world and do the side quests, which I think is pretty cool.
that is amazing. That is what we need. Particularly games that have that multiple endings. The reality is, I'm not going to play the entire game through, or very rarely will I do that. Like, if you've got 10 different multiple endings, like, I'm not playing the game 10 times through. No matter how good it is. If you've got 3 multiple different endings, give me an ability to go back to a point in the game where the choice that led me to one particular ending is able to let me to the other two. So I can actually go back and go, all right, I've done that option. Let me go down this path and see. That is brilliant. I saw, I can't remember who on YouTube was doing this, but they'd listed a game, like quality of life things, and one game, I can't remember the game, will actually tell you that it's the point of no return.
Yeah.
Like it's like
there is,
you're about to enter the boss arena. Have you got all the stuff? Have you done everything? You can't go. Yeah, you can't go further. Yeah. You can't go back after this. That is appreciated, and it asks you twice. Because let's face it, gamers can be impatient, and you just be like, yeah, shut up. Like the typical Pokemon meme where where you go into the Poke Center to heal up your Pokemon, and you're just mashing A, and it's like, hope to see you again. And then it starts the whole loop
Yeah,
again, and you're like, God
yeah,
damn
oh,
it.
yeah. That's oh God, it'll come back to me at some point. There's been two games recently I've played where they've done that. And recently, I say probably in the last like five-ish years I'm thinking of, but they do have a. This is warning. This is your last point. This will be the end of the game. And I definitely appreciate. I'm wondering even if Elden Ring does that when you fight. Who's the final boss in Elden Ring? My God, oh, the Elden Beast. Uh
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah, it kind of does. It does. It doesn't actually explicitly say. It just says more. This. It's. I can't remember. I'll look it up. There is a message it gives you when you have to touch the white light beyond the thorns of the Elden tree, and then you fight Radagon. Um, Elden
Mm.
Ring.
But
Yeah.
it's little things like that that you appreciate as a gamer because and look, I don't mind multiple endings. Um, okay, so one game I was playing that I kind of have to reload after my PC sort of died for a bit was Disco Elysium. That's very atmospheric.
Mm.
It's somewhat point and click, I guess, or because again you're solving a mystery. It's a detective thing. It's very dark, I guess, humor. Very uh, what's the word? That's the word I'm looking for here. It's
Cynical.
very yeah, it's cynical, but also dry humor, but also um,
Demua.
it
Is that what
it
the
it,
kids
it
say?
inve-
What it is.
Lotteries. Lit. It's so lit. The world it immerses you because it's
Mm.
so but so that was a game I was playing for a while, and I think that has multiple different endings,
Yeah, I've
and I
heard
could
that.
probably
Yeah.
see and I could see myself playing through the different game loops because it is very multiple choice, like how you interact with the world and what thing that I can see myself going back to and playing
Mm.
slightly different. But at most, I'd probably play through it maybe two more times, if that, if
Mm.
that, and that would genuinely be for the completion. Like I want to see the other two endings. That's it.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it does depend on gameplay for me. So, same with going back to Elden Ring. There's something like six or seven different endings you can have, but they are all. I looked them up on YouTube. They're all just different, slightly different cutscenes depending on the choice you made. It had no impact on gameplay. So I was like, yeah, I'm good with what I've got. I just watched the endings on YouTube, and that was it. And they're like, I think it's like a total of maybe 8 minutes to go through all of the endings. Um, but if a game, I'm trying to think of a game that I've played that would have multiple endings that's worth playing through. I don't. Mate, I can't remember if Skyrim does. It's been so long since I've played Skyrim. I don't think so. But Skyrim's a hard one actually because I think I've only actually finished that game as in the main quest once. I get too distracted by the side quests in that game and never end up finishing it usually. um, yeah.
but yeah, now I mean, so yeah, look, I mean, there are tons of brilliant games that I've recently been sort of putting onto my wish list, and a few that I've
Oh yeah.
bought. Mainly a lot of like off the I guess off the wall, off the cuff sort of
Decisions.
um
Like, oh, I'll
oh
give it a go.
sort of yeah, as well as sort of, oh look, this looks interesting and that looks interesting. Um and again, let me have a look, see discount. Um
Actually, that might be an interesting exercise. Go to your wish list and talk through your wish list. How many? It depends
yeah,
on how many we've got. I've got
oh I've got quite a few, but
51. So maybe not. Maybe a top 10.
I can't even see how much I've got. I've got tons.
Yeah.
One of the ones I think you should check out. And again, this is. Did you ever play back in the day? Medieval on
The
PS1.
PS1 game. Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Check out Pumpkin Jack. Pumpkin Jack. Ooh, and it's only $8.79 at the moment. I might actually purchase that. Pumpkin Jack.
Pumpkin Jack. Let's have a look. Spooky, scary 3D platformer in which you embody Jack, the mythical pumpkin lord. Dive into an epic adventure through the otherworldly landscapes to help evil annihilate the good. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is very spiritual successor by the looks of things. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. It is very cool.
Yeah, nice.
um,
Good one. might add that on. That'd be a really good one on Steam Deck. Why not? I'll buy it too. I'm going to buy it now. $8.79.
Um,
Oops. Oh, cart. This is the danger of podcasts and the video games. You start to, ooh, yeah, I'll buy that.
oh yeah, yeah.
So that'll be the next one. That'll be a good break from. I'm already thinking about my next game. Like I'll go through City, and I'm thinking I
Mm-hmm.
really want a which is another game I'll talk about in a tick. It could be a segue to it, but I want another 3D open world, maybe RPG hack and slash something. Maybe this I'll play this Pumpkin Jack game as a sort of a palate cleanser and then dive into something. So I tried
Mm-hmm.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now I've already tried that before previously. I actually bought the game on sale on Steam, but so I want to play it on Steam Deck and I want to be able to play it offline. But goddamn Ubisoft Connect ruins
You're
that. So
kidding.
they're shitty. Oh, I fucking hate it. I just wish they'd give up and or at least have parity with Steam in terms of features. Let me have an offline mode where I can play a game offline. It doesn't do that, so I got a refund.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up playing it, let's say, on a friend's computer, and I played.
Mm-hmm.
I got further than it because I actually played it years ago as well somewhere. I can't remember where I played it, but it's huge. Like it's a really long game. I got through the prologue a little bit after that. I think I bolted down to check out London. I wanted to see what that looked like in game. It was pretty cool, but I sort of quit because of other games were out at the time. But then I went back. I was thinking, let's give it a real good deep dive into it. But I don't know. Based off everything we've just had a talk about there, I don't know what it is. It's something not clicking with me. The maybe it's the movement. Like I don't know. I can't because everything's like it's a gorgeous looking game. You got some pretty engaging combat. I like the stealth mechanics. I kind of like the climbing. It can be a bit. Rather be a little bit more fluid. It feels like you're stopping and starting a lot when you're climbing. It can be annoying, but there's a lot to explore. A lot of side quests. A lot of side stories. There's something about it that wasn't clicking with me, and I've generally speaking, I've never really been into Assassin's Creed the franchise. The only game I've played to completion was Origins, and I kind of had to force myself through that last part of that game. I just liked it because of the historical stuff. Like it was, that Origins is set in Egypt, and it was really cool being back at that time. And then same thing I want to do with this was the Vikings, doing their raids in England. But
Mm-hmm.
I just got bored. I felt myself not engaged to go back. I wasn't having fun. I was just sort of doing stuff for the sake of it, and I ended up quitting that. So, what about you? Have you played any of the Assassin's Creed games?
Early on, or at least I had a friend who had them. And it was again probably Assassin's Creed 1. I'd say that like it was all the rage, and I think that was during an era when I was a little slightly disillusioned with games as well. But I started noticing there was a lot of sort of really boring gameplay loops, like with Assassin's Creed just being that loop where it's like go hunt a person down, kill them, hide, or rather escape, hide.
Yeah,
You know,
that first game is very boring.
and I was like, this is, I'm like, and it kind of really put me off. But everyone goes, oh, Black Flag, and this, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like Call of Duty, because at that point, Call of Duty's something
Yeah.
else had come out. But I've come to appreciate Call of Duty because for me, it's like the 80s or 90s action film. Like you see Arnold Schwarzenegger with a gun, and it's just going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger with a gun killing people,
It's
and it
fast
can
food.
be, yeah, exactly. It's fast food, right? It's something you can just sit back, switch your brain off, enjoy, be like, cool. Again, I've never been a PvP enjoyer, just because don't like toxic nature of some groups, don't like the competitiveness. Again, not really big on competitive sort of nature, whatever. I
Yeah.
rather go in for stories, and it's a simple action flick which I enjoy. Um, again, yeah, and I've played a few, but never really enjoyed them, to be honest. There are a few games I've put on my list.
Yeah.
Some which are weirder than others. Um, I think there's one. I don't think it's Empire of Ants, because we've got
Yeah.
Empire of Ants, or there's this other one called Empire's Undergrowth.
Empire's Undergrowth.
It's basically Bugs RTS,
Oh,
which I
cool.
found interesting. So I've added that to my wish list.
Oh, it came out this year.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Uh,
cool.
yeah, like I said, I've got a lot on here that
Yeah, maybe just call out a couple that you wanted to, because we could be here
yeah,
all night.
no, absolutely. Having a look here. Bar Barrow Trauma,
How do you spell that? BARRO.
Baro Trauma.
Oh, like one word. Okay.
Yeah,
What the heck is this one? 2D co-op submarine simulator. So different.
yeah. It sort of has vibes of, well, what's that space one?
The faster than light.
I
Is that
think
it?
so, maybe
FPS?
something like
FPS?
that. Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Mm.
But there's like, it has a little bit of what's the word? HP Lovecraft sort of horror in it. Lovecraftian horror is the word I'm looking for.
Yep.
Another one that I've sort of put on is Another Crab's Treasure. I just think
Oh
it's
yeah,
fun.
I've seen that. Yeah, that looks cool.
Yep. Um. There is a few. Like again, I've got everything. Oh, one if you haven't checked out, which is I think is beautiful and I think is amazing. The
Mm.
Plucky Squire. The
Yeah, so
Plucky
that's a good one to
Squire.
chat about. So I
Yep.
heard the reviews. It sounds like it's a really good game for kids. I think that's the target market. It's not actually something for adults where we all got our hopes up to be like another Zelda. From what
Uh,
I've heard from the reviews, they say it's a gorgeous game, but it's the puzzles are really simple. There's no cleverness to a lot of the designs and the mechanics in it are very matter of fact. They don't really build on them like you would expect in the modern sort of AAA type of a game.
oh no.
But even I went back and listened to an interview with the developer, and they were actually aiming for it to be a kids game. So I
Okay.
don't think I'll probably pick it up now. Now that I've heard that, it sounds like it is really one of those like those I don't know if it's Bluey the game or like
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, one of those you just designed for kids, a very basic, rudimentary sort of thing. So it'd be really good for like your son, for example, for young kids that are their very first sort of games. I think it'd be an excellent game, and it might be like formative for them, as in because the visuals are so
Mm.
gorgeous, it might be just absolutely inspiring for them. But yeah, for someone like myself, I think I'm going to give this one a pass. What about you?
Yeah. No, like I said, I might pick it up with a little man. Um. But yeah, it. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be one of those ones where I could be like, oh, I'm just gonna enjoy the like the fun beauty of it,
Hmm.
sort of
Yeah,
thing.
that's to say if it's if you it's just like
Yeah.
watching again a kids Pixar movie that that is really centered around kids. You can still get some enjoyment out of it. The only
Yeah.
other one I
No.
recommend you check out would be I think it's what's it called? Tinykin, Tinykin. So similar sort of visuals in a way, but
Mhm.
it's a what do you got a Pikmin like in a way. So it's the
Oh yes, yes, yes. I'd
classic
seen
small
this
dude in
one.
a big in a house, and you're basically trying to repair. I think it's like you're repairing a ship or something like that, but
Yep.
it's a short game. It isn't long, so it's probably I see it's there worth $36. I think you should wait for that to go on sale unless you've got Game Pass. Then that's where I played it. But um, it's it's probably only like a 6 hour game if that. But it's a hell of a blast. It's really good movement. Like you got a bar of soap that you use as like a kind of like a skateboard, and it's really great for moving around the level. Like there's a lot of areas to grind on. You can jump up to different areas with it. It's just when a game nails the movement, I'm right into it. So, like for example, one thing I didn't mention with Batman. So, Batman Arkham, like playing Batman, you'd expect him to be a little bit cumbersome with his movement. He is. I kind of accept that because that's the way it is. But I often
Hmm.
kept thinking, God, I wish I was Spider Man right now because they do the movement in Spider Man games really well. That's so much
Yeah.
fun to jump around the city. But that's what Tinykin's like. It's really fun to move around the environments. The puzzles are pretty straightforward. You're just throwing your little dudes at something to carry things over to different areas, but you might need the dudes to do a particular task. But I found it's that more fun than Pikmin 4. I tried, actually, that one wasn't on my list, but I did try Pikmin 4 for a few hours and I fell off it. That was boring. That wasn't very interesting to me, that game. But Tinykin is excellent. Recommend that.
No, no, absolutely awesome. Love it. Um, there. Well, yeah. Look, I'll definitely put it on the list. And another one that I've been looking at, which is I'm not sure if we find it interesting. It's Bramble, the Mountain King. I just think visually it's awesome. There is another one that I'm looking through my list. I know I would have put it on my list. Um, that takes the what was that PS2 game from the same developers of Ico?
Japan Studio, was it?
Yeah, no,
It was
but that other game, the second one,
the second
uh,
Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus. There's another game that takes a lot of inspiration from Shadow of the Colossus, and it's
Oh,
like the spiritual successor.
dog, the dog thing. Oh, sorry. Pray for the Gods. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, Pray for the Gods. That must be that. Yeah,
Yes,
because I just saw
that's
that
actually
one.
on my list. Yeah, that's on
Yeah,
my list. So that's
I've got it on mine.
43. I'm gonna wait for that to get a bit cheaper. I looked. So that was in early access forever, and it looked rough when I was
Mm.
keeping up with it. Here we go. Yeah, I added it back in 20 in in January 2019. It says I added it here, and it was still, when I saw the release on release, it still looked rough. So I was sort of giving it a bit of time before they patch. And I haven't actually gone back and checked it lately. But if it's patched up and doing a lot better, I'll probably consider it.
Oh, look,
Um,
I'm glad that you're saying that because I wasn't aware of that information. For me, it's just been sort of like, oh, cool, I saw it, give it. And again, this is sort of what I mean. Like the overall reviews say it's very positive for Pray for the Gods.
yeah.
The
Okay.
other,
Yeah.
yeah, the other one that is currently in early access, it's mixed, but it's only been released as of yesterday, apparently. Um, and I've just pasted it in the chat.
Yeah.
Towers of
Yeah, it's
Ag
hard one to pronounce.
Ag
Aghasba? Aghasba?
Aghasba, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's apparently something like that. It has a bit of city building, base building to it, but there's elements of like colossi.
Yeah, it looks different. I'll have to look into that because I don't know. Like, thing I like about Pray for the Gods is literally go around and battle big monsters. If there's building stuff in it, I'm like, meh. Depends on how they approach it, of course. But I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, a
Um,
lot of my games are either very positive or mixed, or overwhelmingly positive. There's one I just removed that was uh negative, like I think extremely negative or something.
which one was that?
um,
Not old.
oh,
I'll have a look.
Various lives or something. Various
Oh,
life,
Various Day Life.
maybe,
Yeah. Anyway.
maybe.
Yeah, well, just speaking of my list, so the very first one that's at the top of my list, like I know you can drag them around, reorder them. I haven't
Mm.
bothered doing that, but the number one must have been the first one I put on back in 2017, Sherlock Holmes: Crimes and Punishments. So the one you're mentioning before, I've got
Oh no, no,
$40. Oh
no,
no.
my one is Sherlock Holmes. Uh, Last something or other. What was it? Sherlock
Oh, okay,
Holmes.
it's a different game.
Yeah, it was Sherlock Holmes.
The Shadow game.
Yeah, I think it might have been
The Awakened. There's a few
The
here.
Awakened.
The
The
Awakened.
Awakened.
Okay.
Sherlock Holmes,
The
The Awakened.
Yeah, because I was the reason that spurred that on because I was thinking, God, I need to sort of, I wouldn't mind playing some different games, and I really like to play. I wonder when I added that. Hang on, when did I add that? Because it might have been playing Batman maybe around that time, 2017. There's a good chance I was playing Arkham Asylum or Arkham City around that time. I'm like, you know what? I really want to play a detective game. So I looked up that, and I think because I saw good reviews, I'll give it a go. So this one's got mostly positive and very positive. Yeah, so same with the Sherlock. So they're both on that. Yeah. So there you go. I'll give it
The
some
first
go.
one,
Hmm.
yeah, no, the first one I added was Stardew Valley in 2016.
Oh yeah. Did you pick
Yeah,
that up?
Portal Knights. Oh yeah, I've got it. Yeah, I've got that one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I've got it on another device. Yeah.
I gave it a
Ooh,
go. I couldn't really get into that.
here's another one that I added in 2017. Folk Tale. It's going to be a city builder strategy simulation RPG fantasy. Mostly negative. Removing that. Um,
Have to do a bit of clean up of the list.
yeah, look, nah, that's one of the things. I look at these and I think, why did I add this? I've got Astroneer. I think I might have added Astroneer and re-added it a few times. Astroneer, I've got no interest. It's multiplayer, open world. So, nah, I'm done with the crafting. Maybe it might be in the mood I'm currently in.
Hmm. Yeah, I've got a lot of these stuff fairly recent. So I'm or from actually a lot of the stuff I add have come from the podcasts I listen to. Oh, Marvel Spider-Man 2. Cannot wait for that. My God, it's been the hardest wait. Like I've decided this generation to sit out a PlayStation. I usually get a PlayStation each generation, but you know what?
Mm,
Because they're now releasing their games on PC, and I've got a decent rig, I'm just going to wait. So I think that's going to what does it say? Oh, it's only a month away, pretty much. A couple of months. Oh yeah, they're
oh,
releasing
that's
it
brilliant.
in January. Hell yeah! God yeah, that's looking forward to that. The only other game I wanted to talk about, not on
Yep.
the wish list, but generally speaking, what I've been playing, I played through Echoes of Wisdom, the new Legend of Zelda game.
Yes.
Loved
Please
it.
tell me more.
Yeah, so it hasn't really got its flowers. I felt like it's been kind of. It came out, people played it, said yeah, it was pretty good, and then they carried on, and I think it's pretty good because of the sense of like Zelda games are sort of held to that standard now, where if there's a bad one, you're going to know about it, because it's very rare that a bad Zelda game comes out. That people just they pick over things, I guess, is what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. You're not wrong.
and that was a general consensus for this. For me, I really love this game. Obviously I'm not a game reviewer. I'm not in the industry and whatnot. But people aren't even talking about it for Game of the Year. Whereas I'm like, for me, it's probably my Game of the Year. It's for games released this year, I suppose. So it's a return to 2D top-down Zelda, but with that 3D, it's the same art style as the Link's Awakening remake. It's from the same studio, so Grezzo developed
Mm-hmm.
it. This time, of course, you're playing as Zelda. The first time in a Legend of Zelda game, you are actually playing as Zelda. So, and that's really cool. I really like what they've done with it. So they've mainly pushed you onto. You can get around it, but they've mainly pushed you onto using her rod instead of using sword and a shield. You do get
Yep.
the sword fighter pickup, power up, or whatever it is that you can use, but you can only use it for a limited time. You can level that up in terms of both its length and then the power. But I tended to avoid it because it was fun actually doing all this, your echoes. So you basically what happens is you'll find an object in the world that have shiny, sparkling, again, light posting, shiny sparkles all over it, and you can copy that to use it as an echo out in the field or in the dungeons. And then if you defeat enemies, you can also copy them to use them as well.
Yes. Yep.
So the game's basically around it's designed all around that. So it's in a sense it's kind of like your modern Zelda game design, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You don't really have an item per dungeon you're getting. It's more of you'll have everything in your toolkit that you have, but you'll have sort of themes, and they are more of your traditional classic Zelda dungeons in this one. And I didn't realize how relieved I was to have those, because it's I really do like the ones in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They are great puzzly sort of things, but it's something comforting about going back to the traditional, go in, find your keys, unlock the doors, do your mini boss, fight your main boss, and there's a theme to it, and it's just satisfying. So, look, overall, it's great. It's got a pretty cool storyline. Like that's the other thing that lends it to having it a bit more structure around it in terms of dungeons. It's got more of a cohesive story. So instead of just generally big bad guys sitting there recovering power, go get the big spirit things to help you defeat it when you have that final battle with the boss. This one's more like, you'll go to an area and there's some cataclysmic thing that's happened, which in this game is rifts have been opening up into the thing called the Still World, which is sucking in parts of Hyrule and people into it. And then you have to go and typically before you jump in to tackle the dungeon, you've got to help out that area. So you'll go to the Gerudos and they're like their chief's missing. So you have to jump into one part of the rift and do sort of like a mini dungeon in there, and then go back and then help them sort out some of their dramas they've got in their tribe, and then you'll get access to the main dungeon to take on the boss. And that's kind of been the design in Zelda for many years. Is it's bridging that gap between I am now entering a dungeon and just getting to the dungeon. So you're kind of doing like a lot of sort of mini puzzles and quests and bosses along the way before you actually get to the dungeon. And it's just great. It just means it's like you talked about before, you're not running across the map for 3 minutes bored. There's something always going on. There's something to look at, something to collect, some discovery to find. But of course, there's fast travel in this game, so dramas if you do want to get somewhere quick. I mean, not much else more to say to it. It does. Initially in the early part of the game, it recycles a lot of stuff from the classic 2D Zelda. Excuse me, got a lot of gas tonight. A lot of
all right.
had curry earlier, so it's just coming through me. It recycles a lot of the the puzzles you'd be familiar with if you've played Legend of Zelda in the 2D
Mm.
sense. But they've kind of got a twist on them because you can't do some things that Link can do. So that's cool doing that. At first, I was a little bit let down because I'm like, oh man, we've done all these before, but there's enough of a twist there to make me go, yeah, that's okay. And then later on, thankfully, as the dungeons get tougher, you do get some pretty cool puzzles in there that make you go, oh wow, that's cool how they thought of that. And then the good thing about this is the final boss is really fun to fight. Really good final boss. So it isn't Ganon. Ganon features in the game, but I've actually forgotten Null. Null's the name of the boss, which I think is pretty clever because it's the story is basically before the heavens and the earth existed, before the goddesses came down and created the land of Hyrule and whatnot. There was a nothingness, a big void, and Null lived there. And they basically came and created the land, pissed him off, and he's been trying to get back the void again. So that's the whole him coming breaking into the real world from the still world. It's called to bring the void back to everybody.
Oh,
okay. It was really cool to have the Triforce again, and it was the goddesses. So you had Farore, Nehru, and Din.
That is genuinely really cool.
That's back to the traditional Zeldas. Like that's gone back to, Link Between Worlds was the last time they were talked about, and that was like 2013. So it was cool to have traditional Zelda storyline back in it again.
That sounds awesome. No, that genuinely sounds utterly awesome. With the I like the whole idea of that because again, something I've always sort of wondered. I've always sort of wanted to write a story for the Zelda movie. Yep. And again, look, I guess I'm not going to lose anything by saying it here, but the way I would have written it would have been obviously Studio Ghibli, because I think it's the only studio that can give it justice. It would be something that I would add, the beginning of it, like being a precursor, like before the goddesses even arrived, how they came into being, and it being very atmospheric and a whole bunch of stuff. So I think that's really cool. I think that's really awesome. The way it tells that story, that's fantastic. I'm really glad to hear it. That is utterly awesome.
To be fair, it's not super detailed. Like that kind of unfolds towards. It's the classic. Some mysteries going on, and you're trying to unravel it. You don't really find out until the last dungeon or two, and the finally opens up a bit. And you realize here's what's going on, and you get some of the spirits, or whatever, telling you the story about what's going on here. But it doesn't really go any deeper than that. It's typical Zelda. Like it's not super deep, but it's enough to keep you driving in the game and sort of put a context around what's happening. The main crux of the game is so Link and Zelda haven't met before, but Link gets captured by this dark force after defeating Ganon, and then Zelda's captured. Link defeats Ganon and then goes to help Zelda, but then he gets sucked into this still world and made by Null. And then at his last breath, as he's getting sucked in, he shoots an arrow out and breaks this seal that was on Zelda. And then that's when you pick up and it's really cool because it's from the announcement trailer, the actual literal scene, and you are actually running. So it's got that whole dun 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 dun, like it's really building while you're running. You're like, Jesus, trying to sprint around, run this void that's coming after you. It's really, it's so cool. It's a really cool opening moment of that game.
That's brilliant. No, I love that. That's freaking awesome. Oh look, it's something I'm probably going to pick up. Quite frankly, that sounds awesome. That sounds freaking awesome.
Have you got any more games to talk about?
I've sort of been looking through my lists and stuff, and I'm trying to think of stuff that I've actually played recently and done. Nothing. Nothing comes to mind at the moment. No.
I remembered another one, but I might leave it for another time. It's Control by
Control.
Remedy, who do the Alan Wake games. Really
okay,
good.
Yep.
High level, really good. But yeah, I'll leave that for next time, I think.
No, that sounds absolutely awesome, man. I mean, yeah, like I said, we're definitely going to need to do this a lot sooner next time.
Well, so I think that we've been talking about doing this. We had this idea of helping a little bit fun for some of our creative juices is to rewrite or retell a movie. I can't remember if we've mentioned this in another podcast, but we have had this idea to rewrite or do a new Ghostbusters movie. And both Ivan and I are approaching it from very different angles, which I really like. And I'm excited to hear what we both come up with. I still yet, because life got busy, I haven't actually got back to rewatching. I want to rewatch 1 and 2. I saw 1 a few years ago again. The second one I haven't seen since I first saw it, and I would have been like, I don't think I would have been even a teenager when I saw that. So I need to rewatch that again and familiarize myself with it. And then I want to put together some notes and some outlines and whatnot, and then have a podcast on that. So that hopefully I can do that soon. I've got a busy couple of weeks coming up, but it could potentially be another catch-up episode. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think so. I think definitely let's have another catch-up episode. But yeah, look, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Like you said, when you approached me with it, I had a completely different idea, and so I approached it the way I did. But look, no, absolutely, man. I think it would be fantastic to. Oh, actually, before we continue, before I finish that off, just before we sign off, there was, along with that indie game, there was another game, which I think is called Metropolis. Metropolis, I think 1998. Yeah, 1998. Now I think it was you that told me that you played the original SimCity and stuff. Check out Metropolis 1998.
Let's have a look here. Is this a fan made thing or something? Fresh take on the Monty Sit in emulate retro art physics style. Oh, that's cool. Why didn't it take it? Hang on, what's going on here? Oh, that is cool. Oh, it's coming out next year. Okay, so design your buildings, grow, maintain your city, manage real-time traffic. I wonder if you can do transport, because that, I'm in, if it's the case.
Apparently you can. Like the trailer says you can go down to like, you can even design the interior of each building as well.
Wow.
So like that granular.
Super detailed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Early access. Oh, there's a demo out. Yeah, all right. I'm going to wishlist that because that's interesting. There's another game I'm looking forward to, slow development, but it's called Voxel Tycoon. So I am kind of looking for. I've played another game called Transport Fever 2. It isn't quite grabbing that itch. Like I'm talking about, like I love Locomotion and Transport Tycoon, but I wanted to see a fresh take on it. And Transport Fever 2 is not bad. It just isn't quite scratching that itch. But there's one called Voxel Tycoon that looks promising, but that's very slow. That's been in development for a long time. I think that is maybe one or like a very small indie team working on it. But this one, Metropolis, 1998. I'm adding that now. Cool.
I'm glad you like it, my brother.
Yeah, I love it.
There's been like I said, there's tons that I've been sort of going and adding through my list. There is so much, a lot of pixel games. I absolutely love a lot of pixel game stuff, but a lot of other stuff as well that I've been adding. Just trying to see. I'm pretty sure I added something else. There was like, I'm just going through the list and I'm like, I know I've added another one, and I know. Again, there's a lot that I add via the guy Best Indie Games that look awesome, and then a lot of that I need to clean up as well.
Yeah, maybe that is another episode. We could do a proper rundown of our lists in wish lists, or like obviously if yours is ballooned, like even mine's 51, we could potentially grab out our top 20 or whatever it is we want to talk about. Because imagine that'd take us a while to go through everything.
Absolutely, definitely want to do that.
But if that's pretty much everything, we might sign off. I'm probably not far off dead myself.
Yeah, neither am I. I mean, yeah, there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow to take into account, isn't there?
That's it. Well, yeah, thanks everyone for listening to this episode. Again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment to let us know what you think. And if you want us to cover any topics, we're pretty keen on looking at anything sort of geeky and nerdy in nature, of course. It's Where's the Geeky? Until
Absolutely.
then, we'll see you next time.
Bye.